This is closing argument day. $370 million being sought here. Wow. Yeah, wow. I mean, it was a big number initially when it was 250. I think that number went up. Can you sort of, for folks who are trying to understand, like the layman's terms, how the Attorney General got to the number $370 million?
Right, and let's back it up a little bit because I think it's important. Many people probably know, some people may not, that there was a summary judgment in this case, which means that there's already been a finding of fraud. Donald Trump is not looking at coming out at the end of this with it, it going down to 10 or 20 million and there be a finding that he is in fact not liable. He has been found liable on the most serious count in this case. And the number is $370 million. And I'll break it down for you. I've brought a breakdown. The $168 million is the first number, and that's on saved interest on 4 commercial properties. They're saying that if he hadn't have submitted the fraudulent documents that are in question, that he would have paid more. And that number, according to the Attorney General, comes out at $168 million. And then there's a disgorgement component of this. One is $139 million for disgorgements of the sale of the old post office hotel in Washington. That is a hotel that he famously owned when he was president. We hear a lot about it because there was a lot of whining and dining that went on.
Trump Hotel,
yes. At the other end of Pennsylvania Avenue. And the argument from the Attorney General is that fraudulent documents went into getting that loan, and so the profit should be disgorged. The same argument goes for another loan that he got for the sale of a golf course in New York, or for the loan of a golf course in New York and the sale of a price of $60 million, that those profits should be disgorged. Those are the main components that we're looking at in terms of the number $370 million. So now the next question is, continuing it is, what is this really going to come at? I mean, I've covered a lot of trials, and you hear a big number comes in, and then a lot of times it's in class action lawsuits, and then it gets whittled down to a pretty small number. I'm going to start with, I love gambling, so I'm going to take a stab at this just for fun.
But, I love that you say that. Most people are like, I'm not a gambling person, don't read tea leaves. Stu's like, I'm all in.
I'm all in for this conversation.
Yeah, what's your bet, big number?
I was interested because I got out of court. I was listening to some of the debate on TV, on MSNBC, on Deadline White House about what the number was going to be. There were some very reasonable voices who came out and said, well, there's no victim here. The banks are, but they're not sympathetic.
Well, and the money's not going to the banks.
No,
it's going to the state.
It's going to go to the state. It's going to go to the taxpayers. It's going to go into general services in New York, into the fund. And so that was one thing, is that it's not like there's no real victim that we can feel sorry for here, and that the number might come down. And in fact, it might come down. But I have to say, I've thought a lot about this, and I was sitting in court. And we were just leaving, everything was wrapping up. And Judge Engoron, right at the end, the Attorney General had wrapped up their arguments. And Judge Engoron had one question. And he looked at the lawyer for the Attorney General and he says, how does this case compare to Bernie Madoff?
Ah, wow.
And I went, wow. Like, the judge has Bernie Madoff on his mind. And that is the largest Ponzi scheme in history. It happened right after the 2008 financial crisis. It was into the billions. And the answer was, of course, this is smaller, but the behavior...
But he's thinking about it.
But the fact that he was thinking about that, I have to say, I would think, and he's already come in and not... He's already come in and found the Trumps to be liable.
Yes, that he's guilty of fraud.
And he has said there's a courtroom full of evidence. I think I'm going to go out there and say, I think it's going to come in on the higher end, it's not going to come in closer to the old number. It's going to come in closer
to the new number.
That's just my feeling. I don't know, but I
love that you're saying, when you invoke the specter of Madoff, that is significant.
This is the judge that is going to decide that number. So who knows, right? Of course, we're going to know in a couple of weeks. But when I heard that, I thought, wow, that's where his mind is.